mit der Akzeptanz der vier Grundfreiheiten und dazu gehört auch die Freizügigkeit der Personen. Brexit means Brexit.
Hello and welcome to the summer edition of Brexitometer, brought to you by the Martin Centre. I'm Angelos and I'm joining you from King's College, London. London today is rainy and cold, and this perhaps reflects the mood of the country moving forward in the process of Brexit and as it realizes what Brexit really entails. Moving on to your questions. Our first question today comes from Jesse Cook, who made a rather colorful remark about David Davis and his capacity to lead the negotiations on the side of the UK with the EU. Now, Jesse, I perhaps can appreciate your concern about the capacity of the British side to manage the monumental task of Brexit, but to be fair to David Davis, I'm not sure what kind of negotiator would be able to lead a tight negotiating ship in a country where basically political instability reigns. The government has been severely handicapped after the snap election Theresa May called, where there is infighting in the Conservative Party, and where there is basically no agreement among the Conservatives or between different parties or among society at large about what kind of Brexit this country needs, or indeed whether it needs Brexit at all. I think David Davis is going to play an important role moving forward. There are many people who think that maybe at the end of the day he might just be the only person willing to take on the post of the Prime Minister if Theresa May is considered completely weak and incapable of creating any discipline in the Conservative Party to ratify a Brexit agreement. Maybe David Davis will be the only person willing to take on the job, and maybe everybody else in the Conservative Party will be more than willing to let him take the full credit or blame for what comes after Brexit. Our next question comes from David Baker, who is asking what is more likely, hard or soft Brexit, and can Brexit be avoided at all? Now, my view on this is that there are increasingly two scenarios that are lying ahead of us. Either some kind of an agreement will be closer to the softer version of Brexit. So if the two sides reach an agreement after long negotiations and discussions, I think it's logical to expect that this agreement will create some kind of a closer bond between the UK and the EU. I don't see how the UK and the EU will continue in the path of negotiation and they will reach the point of agreement where they will agree on something that it is creates a very big distance between them. Maybe it's only going to be for a transitional period, but I think at least for the first few 2 or 3 years after the formal exit of the UK from the EU, the two sides are going to still be quite close to each other. The other potential, on the other hand, is not hard Brexit, but it's basically a no-deal Brexit. It means that the UK leaves the EU without any agreement because the negotiations collapse, because of political instability in the UK, because ultimately there is no authoritative political figure in the UK. Can Brexit be avoided? This is really a big question, and it's becoming increasingly relevant, at least from some voices in the UK, in Scotland, or by the Lib Dems here in London, who basically say that this thing is madness. We already see the results on the economic situation in the country. I'm not sure if Brexit can be avoided as such, but I wonder to what extent, at the end of the road, whatever agreement will be reached might be called Brexit, but it will actually create an alternative kind of deeper bonds between the UK and the EU. But we're gonna have to wait and see. As I said, a no-deal Brexit is very much on the cards as well. Third and final question today comes from Richard Looby, who is asking what are the strong cards of the UK against the EU in this negotiation? Now that's an interesting question. It is only fair that we actually not see this as a kind of a complete disaster on the side of the UK in negotiating with the EU. The UK also has some cards in its hands, and ultimately, if it didn't have, the EU would not even be negotiating, would just be dictating the terms of Brexit to the UK. I think there are three sets of advantages that the UK has. First of all, it is the EU budget. The EU budget is becoming an increasingly controversial topic in European politics, and every 6 or 7 years, European countries fight with each other and they disagree about how much they're going to pay and so on and so forth. Particularly big contributors such as Germany, Netherlands, Sweden, France, they're always looking for ways to reduce their contributions to the EU budget, and this makes poorer countries, particularly in the East, feel really, really bad about it because they feel that they're entitled to more help from the EU budget. I think that with the UK leaving, this creates space for even more disagreement among those remaining, because the UK is going to leave a big hole in the budget that others will have to cover. So the UK knows that it has to have some kind of an arrangement going out with regards to the EU budget and its contributions. So it knows that when it comes, for example, to the exit bill, how much money the UK will have to give on its way out, it still holds some cards. The EU really needs a deal here, because if the UK leaves without giving anything, then it's going to be a big hole to fill. The second thing is, of course, the economy and trade. As much as UK exports will suffer if they're subject to WTO rules without any deal towards the EU, European exports to the UK will also suffer. So it means there's going to be a hit on the economy and on some producers and on some exporters who send their products to the UK. There are many, many people in the European economy who really, really want a deal, as much as British people in the UK want a deal with the EU. And the third set of advantage that the UK has with regards to this negotiation is the fact that there are many different EU member states that have their own vested interest in some kind of deal with the UK. Now, this might be Spain with Gibraltar, this might be the Eastern Europeans who want to safeguard the rights of their citizens in the UK, or this might be Ireland that desperately wants an agreement regarding the border in Northern Ireland. This means that even if the EU negotiators feel at some point, okay, this doesn't make any sense, perhaps we're moving to a no-deal outcome, there's going to be severe voices from many European countries that are going to say, hey, we have to stay on the table, we have to do something about this, we cannot leave this without a deal. And the UK knows this, and this creates some area for leverage. So that was for the summer edition of the Brexitometer from a not very summery London. I'm actually going to see you again in September. I wish you all a pleasant summer, great summer, enjoy your holidays. Don't think about Brexit too much, but if you do think about Brexit, make sure you send me your questions using your hashtag, the hashtag Brexitometer, on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Looking forward to seeing you all again in September. Take care.
Mit der Akzeptanz der 4 Grundfreiheiten, und dazu gehört auch die Freiheitslichkeit der Personen. Brexit means Brexit.